Meet Mariana, a visionary and forward thinker who recognized the potential of remote work almost 20 years ago and has since dedicated herself to helping others establish themselves in the online world in a low risk and accelerated manner. Her genuine desire to see people succeed and find fulfillment in their careers drives her to advocate for a lifestyle where individuals are in control of their own destinies. She believes in pursuing one's passions, breaking free from rigid job descriptions, and crafting careers that align with personal values and lifestyle. Through her online coaching services, she guides individuals and businesses alike, offering valuable insights on becoming successful freelancers or establishing successful online service-based businesses. Through her commitment to empowering others, Mariana embodies the spirit of innovation, adaptability, and growth in the evolving landscape of remote work. Over more than 2 decades, Mariana has helped hundreds of people and online businesses accelerate their online success. Mariana helps you create your dream online remoting future in a low-risk way and build your success at an accelerated pace. Mariana offers online coaching for those wanting to establish themselves as online workers and businesses wanting to use online freelancers as part of their workforce. Online remoting offers exciting opportunities. Mariana is a seasoned entrepreneur, having initiated and developed new business units and innovate new approaches in large organizations internationally. Mariana is a seasoned entrepreneur, having initiated and co-founded a number of successful companies, and has personally helped me launch my online career. Welcome, Mariana, and we look forward to this interview.
Thank you, Kim. I'm really pleased that you are interviewing me. I still remember when you first came onto Rimatania. It's really nice to be here, and I'm looking forward to the interview.
So Mariana, tell us why you started Rimatania Coaching.
Yeah, like so many other people, I had other plans and COVID interfered. I literally moved into a caravan because I wanted to work in small towns in rural New Zealand. That was my plan. And I was on the road for a month when the first COVID lockdown struck, and I had to pivot like so many other people. I didn't realize how much I knew about online remoting until I saw how the people around me struggled because they suddenly had to work remotely. And then I also realized that there are going to be people who's going to lose their jobs and they need to find an alternative way of income. And online remoting is just the ideal way of doing that. So all of those things work together, and part of my pivot to adapt to the COVID era, I started Remotania, and now it has grown into something on its own, and I really thoroughly enjoy watching people create their success and start to flourish online. So I don't think when I started it with the view to do it long term, but I most definitely do now, because I've seen so many people flourish, so many people change their lives, and it's a really exciting thing to do. And I do believe that online remoting is the way to go.
Why do you believe that online remoting is the future of both work and business?
I have done a lot of work over the years in innovation, in entrepreneurship, and in technology development and things like that. And I always take note of large global trends, these mega trends globally. It's almost like a wave that comes. It has its own energy. And when it starts to move forward, it is unstoppable. So it's always better to swim with the stream rather than to swim against the stream. And the wave of online remoting is growing. It's no longer starting, it's growing, it's accelerating. And I can best explain it, I think, if we look back in history as what happened in the movie industry in the early 20th century. They had a similar move, a similar trend at that time, and we can look back in history and learn from that. What happened was, in the beginning of the 20th century, all the actors and actresses were employees of the 5 big Hollywood studios. and they were playing or they were acting in the movies that got assigned to them. They didn't like that, like all actors, like all people in the creative industries. They want to do their own thing. And they didn't like that. So they shifted over a period of a few decades from that model where they were employed to the model that we know today, where they work through agents and they only act in the roles that they accept. In other words, they shifted from an employment model to a freelancing model. Now, what happened during those few decades is very interesting. Not only did the actors and actresses and many people in the movie industry become freelancers rather than being employed, there came a time when if you were employed, you were kind of missing out on the benefits of this freelancing model for individuals. But for businesses, if you look at those studios, they tried so hard to stop this move from an employment to a freelancing model over decades. There were court cases and all sorts of things. You can read about it online. They tried so hard to stop that they completely missed the new technology of TV that came into being. And that is why the TV companies were completely different. The movie companies didn't move into the TV companies because they were fighting this move and trying to keep an employment model going instead of the freelancing. So the people who saw this and became part of this move, moving from an employment model to a freelancing model, they benefited immensely. The sooner they started, the better. And the businesses who resisted that model missed opportunities as they came along. And I believe what happened in the movie industry in the early 20th century, in the first few decades of the 20th century, is currently happening in how work happens and how business happens. And moving with this trend and jumping on board and using this energy to create a completely new future is an absolute no-brainer, regardless of COVID. It happened long before COVID. It started long before COVID. COVID just shone the light on this and everybody became aware of it. But it's a mega trend and it's well established and it's growing. And the shift from mostly employment to a freelancing is a growing thing. I don't know, maybe you noticed recently National Geographic, the magazine, they made all their writers redundant because they prefer to work with freelancers. So there you have large organizations starting to embrace this shift. It's a really exciting world, but that's why I believe it. I believe it's a mega trend. It's a global mega trend. And if you want to secure your future, that's the way to go.
And what has changed in online remoting over the past few years?
Well, obviously, COVID had a massive impact on remote work, and remote work happens online. A few things happened. People became familiar with the technologies of online work, like Zoom and things like that, because they had to work remotely. So it was a skills development thing. Companies had to set up the infrastructure to manage remote workers. And now they've got that infrastructure. So those were the big developments that enabled remote work. During or prior to COVID, online remoting, like the freelancing and online business world, it was already developing at an accelerated pace. But then came COVID and all of us became aware of it, and most of us experienced the benefits of working remotely. And therefore, many people didn't want to go back to the office. And we had that whole move, for instance, in America mostly, the big resignation where people refused to go back to the office after COVID and they started to look for more for online work. The thing is, that whole movement driven by COVID is still pretty much employment focused rather than moving to what I call online remoting, which is where you step out of employment and into online freelancing and starting virtual businesses. What happened on the online freelancing platforms that's not employment-based but freelancing-based, they just exploded. And many people wanted to become freelancers on them, and many businesses started to make use of freelancers because they now have the infrastructure to work with remote workers, and they've built the skills to manage that. So all of these really became far more competitive than what they were prior to COVID. And it's it's both exciting and daunting, and you now need to have specific strategies to get into these because it's become so competitive. But there's also a whole lot of benefits about that. So the world became aware of remote work, and there was this move. Don't want to go back to the office. Now we are kind of post that move, and some people have gone back to the office, but they have negotiated better employment arrangements for themselves. But at the same time, you have the virtual businesses and the global online freelancing that's also growing at an accelerated pace. COVID didn't make online remoting happen, but COVID made it possible for online remoting to mature very quickly. And that is now a mature work environment, and therefore it's become an option for almost anybody.
If I know that online remoting is my future, but I'm not quite ready yet to start right now, what is the best preparation I can have?
The big thing is to realize that it's very different from an office environment. So I almost want to say the biggest thing, if you come from an employment background, to realize that there will have to be mindset shifts. That's really, really important, both to deal with constraining habits and mindsets like the fear of change, the fear of the future, the fear of stepping out of your comfort zone and things like that, but also positive mindsets like to move away from the mindset that an employee has to a more entrepreneurial mindset where you take ownership of your own future. A big thing is, for instance, I often hear this when I speak to people. Why do you want to do online remoting? I want to be my own boss. And what they actually then do in practice is they eliminate the functions of a boss, and they hope they're going to succeed. But being your own boss means you need to do the things that your boss used to do. It's not unnecessary things. You need to manage your time better. You need to do your own performance management. Everything that the boss usually did for you, create the environment for you to succeed, you now need to do it. And there's a whole raft of mindsets that need to shift. The other thing that is really important is everybody know that people want to move online. So everybody is starting to promote stuff that people can do online. And it is very easy to to know just a little bit about online remoting and then move in that direction. If I remember correctly, Kim, you came in and you wanted to do transcription work. And honestly, transcription work doesn't pay well. You wouldn't be anywhere near where you are now if you went that route. But because that's what people push and that's what people see when they do online searches, they go for that. And then it doesn't deliver what the freedom and the flexibility and the income and everything else. So it's really important to get to know the whole landscape and to have an unbiased way of evaluating these things and to get an overview of the whole environment, which is exploding, absolutely exploding, but in a very exciting way. So I think the biggest things you can do is don't follow something because that is the first thing that grabbed your attention. Make sure that you develop the mindsets that can help you succeed online, and make sure that you get to know the whole landscape of online remoting as much as possible. Having said that, if you search for the free information online, and you do that for too long, you are going to get utterly and thoroughly confused because there are so many contradictory voices. Free information online about online remoting is almost like constantly eating junk food and wondering why you're picking up weight. It is going to have a negative effect on you. So you need to really make sure that you get the right information and soundboard it in an unbiased way so that you can make a good decision as to what will work best for you. I hope that helps. If you have any follow-up questions, please do ask.
So there is more than 80% failure rate in online remoting. So why would anybody even try online remoting with such a high failure rate?
Yes. It is a daunting environment. And yes, you're right. Most online efforts, freelancing or businesses, they fail within the first 6 months. Here's the thing, Kim. A lion has a less than 80% success rate with its hunts. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't hunt. If it stops hunting, it will die of hunger. So the failure rate in itself is not a reason not to do it, because we have ample reasons in nature that you can succeed even with that type of failure rate. But here's the thing. I believe the 80% failure rate is unnecessary. It is mostly so high because people go about it the wrong way. And there are ways to go about online remoting where you can actually make success the norm. So you can play it two ways. You can be the lion that keeps hunting until it works, or you can actually say it is unnecessary to have that high failure rate. There's things that you can do to make success the norm, and then put those things in place and pursue online remoting in that way. And then you follow a process that will take you to success, and that's the way to go. And it's becoming more and more so with online remoting becoming more pervasive. There are so many more opportunities, but in the same token, also so many more pitfalls. And doing things the right way, doing the right things in the right order is really important. And then you don't need to worry about the 80% failure rate.
And then what have you seen? What are the main reasons people fail online, even though they have a history of building success in other environments?
Yeah, that's a big thing. I'm a bit the same. If you are used to building success, you assume that you're going to succeed, and then you try in the online world, and it just doesn't respond the way you think it will respond. And many people try that and they become completely demotivated, and they think online remoting is not for them. It's because they try to do it on their own. There was a time in the early days when online remoting was not that well developed, where doing it on your own was the only way to make it work. It's no longer like that. Trial and error will never work in the online remoting world. You will waste an immense amount of time and a lot of unnecessary money to do trial and error. There's also this notion, especially with people who are highly skilled, to say, when you want to make something successful, you fake it until you make it. It doesn't work online, because people don't look at anything other than the quality of your service. So if you fake it till you make it, the clients are going to walk away. And on top of that, it will be documented online that is who you are, and you're just going to struggle to get new clients. And there's a whole raft of things. You make incorrect assumptions about online work, and then you think you do the things that will create success, when in actual fact, it won't. I recently did a poll on LinkedIn. I just wanted to see. And I asked people, so what are the main barriers that you experience? You don't know how to find your niche. You don't know how to make money. You don't know where to find work. And you want to make sense of online remoting. I had a 0 response for people who voted they want to make sense of online remoting. And most people said they don't know what their niche is, and they don't know where to find work. Well, surprise, surprise, those two things only will become clear to you as you make sense of online remoting. But nobody focuses on that. They just want to jump to the end conclusion. It's like saying, I don't want to get wet when it rains, so I'm going to build a roof. The roof won't help you. You need this foundation, the walls, the windows, and put the roof on top. Then it won't rain on top of you. But just jumping to the final end, and because we come from a background in an environment that we know fairly well, we can kind of cobble these things together and then put the success on top of it. Doesn't work like that online. You literally need to build it from the ground up. It is because it is so different that we make the assumptions we usually make when we want to create success, and then it doesn't work. And if you're used to creating success, that is quite unnerving. The fact is, there is a way to create success online, but you need to understand it is like moving to a different country. They speak a different language. It's a different culture. People behave in different ways. They call things by different names. They call things by the same name, but actually they mean something different. And it's a completely new environment with its own language, its own culture, its own work practices that you need to get to know. And people usually disregard that. And they just want to jump from an office environment into the online environment and expect that it will work. It hardly ever does.
And then is there a way to make online success the norm? And if so, what is it?
Yep, that's the exciting part. There's absolutely a way. And Now, here I'm going to explain a little bit about the coaching program that we are doing. I'm not even apologizing for it because it would be really weird if I offer a coaching program doing one thing where I actually think something else would create success. What we do in the coaching program is we implement the online remoting success formula. That really takes people from point zero right through step by step through to success. And here it is. The first thing is you need to commit to working on it consistently. It's not a flash in the pan type of world. It's like a snowball. And if you keep rolling the snowball, it gets bigger. If you stop rolling, it starts to melt. And therefore, consistency is really, really important. The second thing is really important. I already touched on it, is to maintain a mindset to thrive. I can almost guarantee you're going to be completely overwhelmed by the vastness of what is available online, the opportunities online, and also how it can be completely overwhelming, and it's a daunting environment because it just doesn't respond the way you think it's going to respond. And maintaining a mindset to thrive is really important because you need to stay proactive. You can't become inactive. You can't become an observer. If you and I sit in a room and I sit in a little corner and I don't interact, you can notice that and you can pull me out of the corner. In the online world, you just disappear. You're just not there. You're just not present. People don't even notice. So being proactive is really important, and you can only do that if you maintain a mindset to thrive. And then you need to follow a process that will actually take you to success. And that is very, very important. You need to know that the process that you follow will take you to success, because the truth of the matter is not all the steps in this process is intuitive. Some of them are fairly counterintuitive. And for that reason, you need to know that if I just follow this process step by step, it will take me to success. And then it's a very experiential learning environment, meaning you learn as you do. And being coached by those who already created success helps a lot to accelerate you to success. And then the final one is to be part of a community where they're on the similar journey and you can actually work together. It's not just networking, it is actually collaborating together so that everybody's success is accelerated. And if you pull all of those things together, you've got what I call the online remoting success formula. And if you implement that and you follow that, I can guarantee you that you're going to be successful.
And if I want to make sure that my online remoting efforts give me optimal benefits, how would I go about establishing myself online and grow my online success?
Yeah, that's a very important question, Kim. And here's the reason why. I recently had somebody that discussed with me online remoting, and she started literally 3 years ago, and she worked really hard, and she set herself up in an online environment. And 3 years later, she kind of looks up and she realizes it pays way too little. It doesn't give her the lifestyle that she wants, and she needs to start from scratch with something else. Now, if she had done it properly 3 years ago, she would have been in a different space right now. So it's really that this question is really, really important. So you don't waste time, you don't waste your money. And I call it the three by three dynamics. It's a lot of combinations of three. So let me talk you through it. First of all, there's the 3 phases that you go through as you create success. And you start at the point where people don't normally start. And I'm pretty sure when people get into Rimatania and suddenly they need to start with what is the future life you want to live. That is just not what they expected. And figuring that out is really, really important for this very reason. You can quite easily jump in, do something that creates a future you don't want to live in, and then you need to start from scratch. So that's why it's really important. Also, it's very important because in online work, you no longer need to adapt your life to your work. You can now choose what life you want to live, and then you find the online work that will give you that life. So that's where you start. The second phase then is to get an overview of all the different types of online remote work. not just what your friends know, what your Google searches tell you, or what somebody, you spoke to somebody in some way and now you want to go that way. Get an overview of all the different types of online remote work, and then cherry pick those that can give you the life that you want to live, and then choose the one that will work best for now, and then you establish yourself in that. And then you need to follow a process that, as you establish yourself, it takes you through to success. Now let's talk about the clusters of online remoting. Let's talk about freelancing first. It also goes through 3 phases. That's why I say it's the 3x3 dynamics. It also goes through 3 phases. When you start as an online freelancer, it really is a horrible way of working, quite frankly. You need to start at a low paying rate. You really battle to do proposals that get accepted. So you more often than not, more than 80%, maybe like a lion, you are failing. And it's just hard initially to make it work. And most people give up during that phase. And it kind of makes sense. If you thought that's how it's going to be, nobody wants to live like that. This is a constant struggle. But if you continue that, you master the basic skills of online remoting, and then you go to the second phase, which is a really fast growing phase. And then you start to make money at an accelerated pace, and you get very excited about this world. And you realize you can make more money and work fewer hours, and you do what you love. So that's a very exciting phase. But that also starts to taper off, because freelancers essentially are selling hours. And then you have the third phase of online freelancing, where you are well established. You've got a very good online profile as a freelancer, and you can now almost get work on demand, because you've got good clients and long-term clients and all of those things. And then you realize you have entered and conquered a completely new world. Now you can start to structure a completely new career for yourself, and start to think about, so how do I develop a passive income using freelancing, and start to expand and build an actual future substantial freelancing career. And that is a very exciting place to be. But most people don't get there, because they lose all hope of success in the first phase. And a part of what we do is to help people keep at it during the first phase, so that they can reach the second and the third phase, because that's really important. Now let's talk at the third one, and that's starting an online business. Most people that talk to me about starting an online business, they want to do something that they've never done before. Like, they've done something, now they want to do affiliate marketing or multi-level marketing or whatever, because that's what they see is available online. Now that's the first thing you shouldn't do. But let's say you do start a business, an online business, doing something that you've done well, for instance, provide your professional service online. Then most people do, they decide what they want to do, they develop the online course that they want people to buy, and then they contact Rimatania, and all they want Rimatania to do for them is tell them how to market that. It's not going to work. That is why there is an 80% failure rate, quite frankly. You need to start in a completely different place. The first thing you do is you ask yourself, so who do I want to serve? Once you figured that out, and you figured out where they actually hang out online, then you develop an offer for them, not a product, not an online course or anything, an offer for them that they find irresistible. If they hear about that offer, they definitely want to hear more. And then thirdly, once you have those two in place and people are responding to your offer, then you start to construct your service or your product or whatever, and you deliver it in a way that does 3 things again. It's my 3x3 dynamics. 3 things again. What you offer needs to be delivered in such a way that it wows your clients, that it gives you the lifestyle you want, and it is scalable. Otherwise, you can't grow it. So there you have it, all these clusters of 3, but that's how you actually create success online. It's different from how you would do it in other phases. It's not in the same way, but it's all got to do with starting at the right place, doing the right things in the right order, and see it through, and get the result of a really, really exciting life. Maybe at this point I can mention that I live full-time in a caravan. I travel around New Zealand and I do Rimatania, and I absolutely love my lifestyle. And if I didn't do online remoting, I wouldn't have been able to live this life. So it's a really, really exciting life, but you need to do it right in order to achieve the lifestyle that you want.
And what is the future of online remoting, and how has the landscape changed in 20 years?
When I first started in the early 2000s, it was just when the online freelancing platforms were starting to gain some traction. And it was mostly online freelancers from countries with really weak currencies that jumped onto that, and they started to work online. And it was mostly a world, it was the wild west of online remoting. It was the mavericks and the risk takers. And I played along. It was never something that became my full-time income, but I played along. I loved this new environment because it breaks through barriers and constraints and things like that. And then it became a little bit more structured around about the late 2000s, and it started to really grow here in 2011, 2012, when businesses also, you had more online businesses, so it became more of a consistent thing. It was already big before COVID, but during COVID, you had this explosion of people wanting to move online. And what it is now is it is a viable future workspace. You can literally, any career that you could build in another environment, you can now build in the online world. And basically COVID accelerated it to that point. Now what you have is put what COVID has done for us and add to that this mega trend of moving from employment to freelancing and to having an online business. If you put those things together, literally, if you want to secure your future, learning the skills and doing the professional development to make you succeed online is the best way to secure your future right now. I'm not saying employment is going to disappear in the next 5 or 10 years. It probably won't ever disappear. But the point is, you can build for yourself a very secure future, much more secure than what employment offers you if you conquer the online world. And then on top of that, you earn more, you work fewer hours, you do what you love, you live the life you love. You don't need to adapt your life to an employment situation. So the future is bright. The future is really exciting. And I can waffle on about this, Kim, forever and a day, because I'm really excited about this. But that's really the shift. It is the shift that makes freelancing more desirable than employment, or starting an online business if you want to scale beyond freelancing, more desirable than employment. It is going to become far more pronounced. I already mentioned the example of National Geographic, who recently made all their full-time, their employed writers redundant because they want to work with freelancers. So who has the more secure work environment? The freelancers. And it's already starting to happen, and it's going to accelerate. That trend is going to accelerate.
Thank you very much, Mariana, for sharing your journey with us. I'm sure people have some questions they would like you to elaborate on further. So if you have any questions, please type them in the chat box. And if you already are active in online remoting, also feel free to tell us in the chat box how you experience working online. So Anna Marie has said, true, following the right process. It worked for me. Tobili Dlamini to everyone. And what is the right process?
I have outlined it. I think it's the online remoting success formula, which I outlined, and then the 3 phases that takes you to success, the looking at your life first, and then get an understanding of the whole online environment, choose what you want to do, and then establish yourself. So combining those 2 things is the right process.
Diana Smith has asked, how long does it take to work through first phase?
It really depends on how much time you give it. It depends on what you choose to explore, what you choose to do. If I look at the Rimatania members, there are members with full-time jobs and they take longer. There are people who start to do it almost full-time when they come in, and some of them start to earn money online after 4 to 6 weeks. Of course, that's that's just the beginning phases. If I take at how long people actually take before they move through the first phase and they become, I'm not sure what she means by the first phase. I presume the first phase of freelancing. It usually takes until you've earned about $10,000 or so online. And then you've got the ropes. You know how it works. And you know how to get work, and you can actually work on your terms and earn money more and stuff like that. So it takes as long as it takes you to make your first $10,000 online as a freelancer. A business or online business takes a bit longer, and you also need to invest more upfront because setting up an online business is far more involved than becoming an online freelancer.
And then Portia Lekoleni has asked, is remote work viable for a legal consultancy?
Absolute. Let's look at the professional services like legal and medicine and psychology and those that where you actually get accredited in a specific country, or you actually have a professional body and you can practice in a specific country. You obviously can't do that globally, but there are always aspects of what you do or skills that you have that you can do online. So we have many people with professions that actually require accreditation. That, let's take for instance a psychologist. You can't call yourself a psychologist in a different country, but you can provide coaching of life coaching or something like that. And the same is true for legal, the same is true for medical services and all the other professions. There's a lot of work for legal people online, and it's just not the profession itself, the stuff that you get licensed for and you need to maintain your professional accreditation for. That is usually country specific, but there are a whole lot that you can do beyond that, and you can do that online.
Diana Smith, do you help us decide what area is best to choose? Example, not MLM.
Absolutely. That's the main part of what we do. I don't help you decide. I give you an overview of all the different types, and I show you how to do meaningful research so that you can test ideas that you have of what you would like to do and test them against your goals, your circumstances, and what you want to achieve, the future you want to live. And I give you the way in which to do that and give you a framework of how to compare them and make the best choice where to start. So no, I don't give practical advice because it's your life, it's your career, it's your future. You definitely don't want to do what I tell you to do. You want to do what will work best for you, but I will give you everything you need to follow that process step by step and make your decision and start to do what you choose to do.
Felicity de Bruin, what would be the best niche to choose?
It really depends on who you are and what you want to do. There isn't a best niche. There was a time, a number of years back, let's say 10, 15 years ago, where it was IT or it was writing or it was a few creative industries, and none of the others could actually flourish online. That is no longer true. You can now, anything that you can do in another work environment, there's an equivalent of it to do it in the online world and beyond. I always tell this story when people ask me this question. I know of a guy in London who makes a whole lot of money, and what he does is he helps dog owners teach their dogs to stop barking at strangers. And that has got nothing to do with anything that we would call work in any other setting. So you can do all the types of work that you can do, plus you can do a whole lot of other stuff that we don't even associate with work online. It's really exciting, but there isn't a best one. It matters what you want to achieve, who you are, what your skills and talents are, and your circumstances, and we help you through that process.
Diana Smith has asked, what are the costs involved in getting started with Rimatania? How much support do you offer? And are there any other hidden costs?
There are no other hidden costs, and what costs are involved and how we start, that is not something I can answer here. You can book a strategy session or a session where we talk about specifically our programs, and where we specifically look at who are you, what are your aspirations, what do we offer, is it a good fit, and then we may make you an offer to join, because joining Rimatania is not something you buy, it's by invitation only. And we do it by invitation only because we don't want to get people that we can't actually help. So we actually have an hour session with people to figure out these things. It's not something I can answer in 2 or 3 minutes.
And then Setu has said, I did the 3-month Rimatania course in 2021, and I completely agree with Mariana. The 3-phase approach works. You also have to be resilient, because you can have an influx of work at one time, and then there can be a phase of scarcity of jobs that require your skills. There's resilience you learn by working through the 3 phases.
Fantastic. Thank you, Setu. Thanks for attending as well. Yes, and that is true for any work environment other than full-time employment, where somebody gives you a fixed amount per month. Any other environment has that element of flexibility to it, which means you need to manage your finances differently. And once again, that is what a boss usually does in the business. So if you want to be your own boss, you need to do that for yourself. Manage your money, because it's going to fluctuate. So that you work with your money in a way that you have a stable income over time.
And then Mish Logan has said, I have been a freelancer contractor most of my long career and started remote work via Upwork and Fiverr about 6 years ago. I would like to set up my own platform, but not sure how long it will take to build up my profile. So that work comes in freely. I'm a business analyst, and much of my remote work is tech writing, which is fairly successful with a respectable client list, but I would like to expand.
Cool. Yes, most people that create significant success online end up with 2 or 3 or 4 income streams, and that goes back to what Setu has just said, that there is it does fluctuate. So you can probably, the fact that you are here, tell me that you don't earn enough through your current efforts and you want to expand that. So you can either fine-tune that and earn more from that, or you can expand beyond that and build a completely new income stream. The notion of portfolio career is becoming the norm. That's the online career development thing, is to build a portfolio career. And once again, yes, I would not let go of anything that you've done already, but you can most certainly make use of the process that we follow and everything else to start a new one, or to refine the one that you already have and make it accelerate at a pace that's faster, or start a completely new one. And that is quite feasible. I myself use that process for every new revenue stream that I'm developing. Just sticking to one thing online long term, it can work. And for some people it does work, but if you want to expand, most definitely you can develop a second one and a third one, or refine the one that you already have.
And this is a comment from Robert Heath. Great, Mariana. Will be great to work with you again. Rimatania, highly recommended.
Nice to have you here, Rob.